Thank you for listening to the Content Magazine podcast, Conversations with Silicon Valley's Creatives, published by SV Creates.
Welcome to the Content Magazine podcast. My name is David Valdispino. I'm the executive editor of Content Magazine, and today we have a very special guest. Her name is Jasmine Bridges, and she is the new production manager for Content Magazine. How are you doing today, Jasmine?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking.
Awesome. So we're 3 full days kind of into the journey here. Yeah. But, I guess zooming out from the role that you're in currently, you're a San Jose kid. You grew up in San Jose. Were you born in San Jose as well?
Technically Mountain View.
Mountain View,
but,
okay.
We can say San Jose.
So a South Bay kid through and through. Right on, yeah. So you grew up in South San Jose, is that correct?
Yes.
Cool. And then you did some theater stuff. Did I kind of hear about that as you were growing up as well?
I dabbled in the arts growing up, yeah. I think just from a very young age, any kind of performative art outlet there was, I wanted to give it a try. So theater was a big one for me. That started in the second grade with we had speech contests.
Okay.
So we would memorize little monologues and we'd perform them for the school.
Yeah.
Truthfully, I got into it because as a little 7-year-old, my cousin did it. I wanted to do it too.
Okay.
And that started my theater journey at the very least.
Yeah.
So from then on, all throughout elementary, middle, and high school, I did as much theater as I could. I tried other outlets like choir and dance and band.
Okay.
Really, truly anything in the creative realm that I could try, I wanted to try it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like we're diving into the kind of early, deep end of your life, but this is kind of what I'm really curious about because, we've done interviews for the job. Obviously, you got hired for the role, but then there's kind of like the person that's, behind the job as well, and especially working for the magazine, working in the art scene as well, too. So, but how would you you talked about anything you could kind of get your hands on art-wise, but what was that kind of dynamic in your family? Were any of your family members artists? You mentioned your cousin as well. So what was that kind of like? What was your experience with art growing up?
Yeah, so my parents are both musicians, so constantly surrounded by music. I was a roadie from a very young age.
Oh, wow.
Selling t-shirts
That's
and CDs.
Awesome.
So they're both very creative people. They really encouraged the arts as well and getting more into that. My mom, aside from music, she's just naturally really good at things like drawing and putting art pieces together. And my dad also has his talents. Extended family, they also did do some theater, but I experienced the most of it, at the very least, in my intermediate circle.
Awesome. And what kind of music did they perform? Did they perform together or did they perform separately or?
Both.
Okay.
So they both, they definitely bonded on 80s rock, so touched into a lot of rock music, which turned into them having a worship band together. And then later on in life, my dad is now in like a rock concert. My mom just does worship for churches around the Bay Area. So they both are and my brother grew up learning the guitar, so he helps my mom. So they all still have their musical outlets.
Fun. I love that. And your family's still in San Jose, still in the South Bay as well. Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. So, as a music person myself, I grew up with smooth jazz, I grew up with classic rock, I grew up with that kind of stuff, and it was kind of interesting how my tastes, that's the foundation, then it kind of shifts. So how did you what did your listening experience look like? What kind of music did you first find that you were like, oh, I like this, on your own?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like my music interest has been so all over the place my whole life. My mom likes very classical music, but she also really enjoys 80s rock in particular. My dad likes anything 60s to 80s. Okay. So I know growing up when he'd take me to school, we would listen to all the oldies, anything like pre-80s. So I could list off a lot of bands and artists.
Totally.
as I got older, I think I found other bands that emulated that sound, but I know I also got into some more like indie artists, so some smaller people in the area.
Okay.
But my music taste is so stretched out.
Broad at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Awesome. So that's kind of music and family life. Through theater, I mean, starting theater in second grade. I know offset, you said don't ask about the specifics of the productions, but what was that experience for you like? What skills did it teach you, or like what connections did you make that you kind of like brought forward? Because you did that from second grade through high school, and then that led to other stuff that you did later on too. But yeah, like what kind of skills do you feel like that helped develop?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it helped me to build a lot of my own confidence. It gave me a space to be fully expressive, where on stage you can tap into any character, and really dive into that. I think it too helped when I later on started photography to kind of go back to those roots of how do you really feel a certain emotion, like on stage versus in a photo shoot. So I think even too learning just how to tap into certain moods or feelings and so forth.
Awesome, yeah. So we dove right into the music and the theater, but you are a photographer as well. You've done event photography, but you also have a really nice portfolio of portraits and stuff like that. So when did your interest in photography kind of begin? You talk about how theater kind of helped shape your eye, but yeah, can you kind of share a little bit about your photo background?
Yeah, so I got interested in photography maybe around 9 years old, 10 maybe, but it started as we had this like cheap little digital family camera.
Awesome.
And I took pictures of my dolls.
Okay.
So funny enough,
Yeah.
I had American Girl dolls, and that's how I learned how to actually like style and pose people later, was I would do that with the dolls.
They're
And
probably
so-
a little easier,
little
more
easier.
agreeable, too.
Yeah, I was like, well, they listen.
Yeah.
I would like pick outfits for them. I would go out into our front yard or backyard, and I'd find like certain lighting angles and play around with that.
Yeah.
Like play around with the bushes and the plants, so like kind of get that blur effect. And like angling the face and stuff. So it started that way, and of course it grew out of dolls. And then around middle school, I want to say, is when especially Instagram was really, really, early and at its height. And my friends were like, hey, I want pictures for my Instagram. You have a camera.
Okay.
And I started to learn how to pose, real people and not dolls.
For
and
sure.
I worked with a lot of my friends, and that led to high school, where I got my first like real job. So I got prom gigs, some individual portraits. My first wedding, I was 18 or 19.
Wow,
so
yeah.
it was really exciting just to see how it started with an American Girl doll. And then it grew from there.
Yeah. And you talk about Instagram. Did you do any like blog stuff as well? I know Tumblr was like a big start for a lot of photographers for gaining inspiration, but also posting their stuff. And if not web blogs, like what were your kind of inspirations? What did you kind of look to be inspired in your photography?
Yeah, so I didn't really share my work on any other platform other than Instagram growing up. I didn't also have a lot of those other apps either. I hate to admit this, I've never had a Twitter. So there's just Instagram, pretty much. And then also I did utilize Pinterest in middle school and high school to grow more of, that.
Mood board type stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
Cool. Yeah. How do you, I mean, I'm not a photographer. I've had, point and shoot cameras and that kind of stuff, right? But like, how do you kind of parse the difference between like a wedding gig or an event gig in that form and like doing portraits? I know you've shot a lot of your friends and stuff as well, but I know you've done like couple portraits and stuff like that too, right? So like, how do you, talking about mood boards, talking about setting things up, how do you kind of prepare for those things in different ways yourself?
Yeah, I think with individual portraits, I do have a little bit more room for creative freedom in terms of like making a mood board.
Yeah.
And working with very specific emotions or taking the time to really tap into that and try new things with that person. Whereas with like an event or a wedding, all the focus is like, of course I want to bring my creative expertise as much as I can, but the focus is on, okay, what are your needs for this day?
Totally.
What's your vision for this? And I'll work my ideas into that.
Yeah.
And to especially with really big events or weddings, it is about meeting those goals of like, hey, like these are photos we really want. These are also photos we really want. So I think there it's more
having a list and
yeah,
checking it twice.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
And then editing afterwards.
Every
right?
uncle and aunt and cousin and friend. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah,
awesome. So you're 18, getting your first wedding gig, and who was that? Was that just like a family friend, or is that a, you know, how did they find you? Why did they trust you with doing their wedding? You know, like, how did that work?
It was a friend of my mom's,
Okay.
and it was, I think, a relatively small wedding.
Okay.
Maybe like 60, 70 people. It was on the beach. I know that she had communicated to my mom that she couldn't budget a lot for her wedding.
Okay.
And said she really wanted photography done there, and my mom suggested me, and I just full-blown offered to do it for free. Especially with it being my first wedding, I was like, all right, yeah, like, you know, I understand these things get expensive. Like, I'll just, you know.
Just say yes. Yeah. Figure it out.
Exactly.
I love that.
So.
Awesome. So moving through your journey, you're a West Valley kid as well. You went to West Valley College and you studied communications or public speaking. What was the specifics of your West Valley time?
Just general communications.
Communications.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then from West Valley, you left. You bounced out, right? So you went to, it is Grand Canyon University in Phoenix?
Yes, it is not near the Grand Canyon.
Okay.
Just for a lot of people ask that. It is like 4 hours from the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay. And what prompted that kind of big jump across state lines and getting the heck out of San Jose?
Yeah. Honestly, by that point, I really, really wanted to live somewhere new.
Yeah.
I'd always been in San Jose, California, and I just wanted to try something different, and I applied to schools all over the place. The closest school I applied to was San Diego.
Okay.
So I just was looking to go find a new experience in a new state and see what that was like.
Yeah.
I think I am very interested, or at the time I was interested in more of a nomadic lifestyle, so I didn't want to be in one place particularly.
Okay.
And I visited my best friend out in Phoenix. I fell in love with it after seeing it and really wanted to give it a shot.
Awesome. What would you say you liked about Phoenix initially, other than your friend living there and like showing you like some cool spots or whatever? But like, what kind of appealed to you, like the scene or the nature or what?
I think both, and just the general fact that both were so much different than San Jose, so it did provide that very new experience.
Yeah.
The desert, honestly, is so beautiful, and it's really neat to get to go out and be in it, particularly not midsummer day, but any other time.
Yeah, totally.
I know that I love how out there the sun sets, it looks like a painting in real life. And the community out there too is a lot different. I think that people are really friendly and talkative out in Phoenix, Arizona, which was a unique experience.
Yeah.
Not that people here are not,
Yeah.
but to a whole other level.
Yeah.
So it was cool to see that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I went to Humboldt State University up north, and I had like a similar kind of experience in that way, just like the way that people communicate. I mean, it's so fast-paced, kind of living in the South Bay as well, and just in the Bay Area and the city and everything. So, I mean, Phoenix is a big city too, right?
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, different vibes for sure. So, yeah, I'm curious, what was kind of your relationship to the scene in San Jose before you took off? And then we can spin forward from there afterwards. But I mean, obviously you went to school, obviously you went to West Valley, you did photo stuff, but obviously we work for an art and creativity magazine at this point, and I'm always curious. I know South San Jose is not downtown San Jose, and that's not North San Jose or West or East San Jose. Like every pocket is kind of different. So what was your relationship to the scene and those kind of different pockets?
Well, before moving, I don't think I had a very deep knowledge or relationship with the scene. Truthfully, growing up, I didn't think it was even an opportunity here. I think I experienced it in little ways, like a friend and I used to go to Sue's Gallery, which is a little mom and pop shop in Saratoga, and they would sell their handmade ceramics, and there were other museums around the area that I would check out and find those bubbles. But other than that, growing up, I had no idea what we really had here and didn't feel like I could even have that. But I think, too, I was also surrounded by a lot of people who had a different perspective on the performing arts. And as a young kid going into college and her career, I had some peers tell me what I should do, what I shouldn't do. And I think I really just didn't look for it here in the ways maybe I wish I had before I moved.
Yeah. So you're in Phoenix, Grand Canyon University. You continued studying communications? Yeah. And then after you graduated, you stuck around at the college, and you were working with the School of Sciences. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And tell me about that role, because you were doing all kinds of wrangling kittens and that kind of stuff. So what was that role like, and how did you end up in that position?
Ooh, okay, so I actually didn't write out of college.
Okay.
I worked a few other jobs before getting back into that. That was the last job I had for the last couple years of my time there.
Yeah.
I had a friend who was in the role that I later had, and she was leaving and said, hey, like, I'd love to recommend you. I was, funny enough, a leasing agent at the time, so I've done a lot of different things. And I said, you know what? Okay, like, let's go for it. Let's try this. I interviewed and got the role, and with West Valley, I did get to do higher education work, and I fell in love with that. So I was super stoked about getting back into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's like wrangling kittens.
Yeah. When we talked, you initially your eyes lit up when you talked about interns, which I think is not super common. I love interns. I love our interns, but it's it's an interesting time of life. It's like a transition period. People are trying to figure out what they want to do. Sometimes they take an internship in your role to figure out they don't want to do that. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting place to be as somebody that's managing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was that experience like? I mean, obviously you're interested in people. You've kind of talked about storytelling and people's paths and just kind of having that curiosity. But what about students? Like what about those people at that time in their life was interesting to you?
Ooh, I honestly just really loved getting to know their story and who they were, and I find a lot of passion in roles where I get the opportunity to support or build other people up, and I honestly didn't even realize how much I was going to really just, I don't even know how to say it. The College of Natural Sciences role that I had was a blessing in so many ways, because I really got the opportunity to see all the different students coming in, like you said, and all the different personalities. And that also includes the faculty. Most of my role was faculty support, and then I had my student workers, and just finding the right interns who fit the needs of the faculty and even getting to know them on a personal basis was a big part of my role. So I could anticipate their needs, and that's all their little individual personality markers and quirks and etc.
For sure.
Knowing that this professor likes his office a certain way, or this professor is going to come back at this time, so I want to make sure that the exams are in their room, etc. And same with the student workers, just being like, hey, like, why do you want to work in our department? And then getting to know them personally and building that rapport with them.
Yeah.
Sorry if I trailed off your question.
No. I think that captured it. I mean, it kind of gets me thinking about, like, I mean, I think you spinning off on that question shows like your level of interest in those people, right? You know, I mean, you just talked about you went back to Phoenix recently to go visit a former intern as well, right?
She just graduated.
Yeah. So staying in touch in that way. But yeah, I mean, what do you think energizes you as a person? Like, you do photo stuff, obviously you have your job, you've been doing some more art stuff and community stuff around, but
yeah,
what energizes you? What gets you excited and makes you want to,
Ooh, definitely so many things, but I think speaking in terms of here in Phoenix and everything going on, definitely community. I think seeing the way that people are so intentional with one another, it fuels my passion to want to, you know, dive into what I love and connect with other people through that. And that's definitely something that helped coming back from Arizona, is having that experience at GCU made me that much more excited about what we have here and finding that here too, and how even with the faculty and the student workers, our relationships went beyond just the professional, and we developed like a family there, and we supported each other through really hard things and saw each other beyond just our job roles. And that made me much more appreciative of how the arts community in San Jose is really good about that.
Yeah.
And seeing everybody in that community beyond just what art they've made.
Yeah.
So being able to be a part of environments like that really fuels my passion.
Yeah. And so moving back to San Jose, what was your mental state? What was your mindset kind of moving back? Like, you talk about the difference in perspective that you had being out in Phoenix, but moving back, was it something that you wanted to do? Was that like interest and that curiosity something that you wanted to do? Was it moving back home? I mean, when I met you, it was through Goodtime Bar Run Club, right? Through Arabella Espinoza, who shoots for the magazine, and you just kind of showed up and then started hearing more about your background and kind of, you know, meeting people and following people and really trying to get yourself introduced to the scene. But I'm curious what that moving back was like for you.
It was a big mix of emotions. For a while, I really felt compelled to come home, but I ignored that feeling for a really long time. I was comfortable in Phoenix. I was enjoying what I had. And I reached a point where that feeling was just getting too strong to ignore. And a friend of mine was like, hey, like, I know that you miss your family, and I know that you want to come home and just have a little bit of a life reset and redirect some things. I'd love to put your name in for a position. And when that position opened up, I took that as my sign of there's an open door. And by that point, I had 1 month to sit in that decision and to come back. So it was a mix of, there was something in me that knew it was the right choice, but it was hard. So I think initially there was a lot of grief, in especially like letting go of the community and the family I made there. And even leaving that job where we'd bonded so deeply, I was like, I don't even know that I'm sure I should be walking away from this.
Totally.
So it was hard at first, and any transition is, but I knew when I got back that I couldn't just sit isolated in that grief either. I needed to do the things I did in Phoenix that got me connected. And so immediately I got home and I was like following Instagram accounts. I found people like SJ Shooters and followed their followers, and then started showing up to other places, met people who brought me to Goodtime, and when they said come to Run Club, I said, okay, I need friends. I will be there Monday.
Awesome.
So
yeah, it's interesting how that works, like that photo connection can like lead in so many different directions, whether that's like the Run Club or Goodtime or a show or an exhibition or becoming the production manager for Content Magazine, right? Like, but yeah, I think that makes sense. I want to ask like more about it, but I think it makes sense, right? Like you had established that community in Phoenix and you came back wondering and seeking, like, is that other places, you know, like, does that exist where I grew up, right? And I guess how have you felt about that? Like, is it feeling, obviously it's feeling like something that you hadn't had beforehand, but is it feeling good to you? I mean, like,
You're like, is that better?
yeah. I mean, yeah.
No, it is. Honestly, like, it's been about, 6-7 months since I've been here, and even looking back, I'm deeply grateful I made the choice that I did.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just really glad I chose to dive into things, because I had to actively make those choices to draw into community, even when I didn't feel like it for a while. Because the feelings come later, right? A lot of times with those transitions. So I think probably around the new year, I started to feel more adjusted. I started to find all these groups, like content too was part of that.
Yeah.
And even just applying for the job, I was like, you know what, I'm here. I want to really make this a home. And like you said, if I could have it in Phoenix, why can't I create that here? And I knew I took it for granted before I moved, and I just wanted to get out. And coming home, I was like, you know what? If I'm coming back, I'm going to really make this a home.
Yeah.
And I'm going to dive headfirst into that.
Yeah.
So
That's
honestly,
Yeah.
so much better now.
Yeah, so you're 3.5 days in to being the production manager.
Yeah.
We've got you access to websites and logged into this, that, and the other. What are you most excited about moving forward in kind of this role? I mean, obviously we do a lot of stuff in the community, but yeah, just from your own vision, and maybe we'll do an interview a lot later. I know I had mine on first day, and then, you know, months back we just did another one. We kind of circled back on some of those questions. So what are you most looking forward to in this role?
Honestly, I'm most looking forward to just seeing how each day unfolds. I really love the vision that this magazine has and the way it builds people up, and I'm just extremely excited to see what happens in each unfolding day, and that includes things like getting logged into things, or even in the mundane, just really enjoying each moment of it and seeing how that growth turns out in the future.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you kind of grow into the role, being able to use some of your photo stuff as well in multiple ways. But yeah, let's like hit the e-brake, stop the convo. Are you a book reader? Are you reading anything interesting, or have you read anything interesting lately? What comes to mind?
Yes. So I love reading.
Yeah.
The book I'm currently working on is called Local Woman Missing, so it's a murder mystery.
Okay.
I am a little over halfway through that. I just started to read that genre. I just finished Mad Honey is the name of the book. Highly recommend both.
Okay.
Both like murder mystery stories.
Okay, and you were in a play with a murdering woman at some point way back in the day. We talked about that off camera. I see a theme coming here. Okay. Community and true crime. Yeah.
I like true crime a lot. So.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we've talked about it again off camera, but music-wise, now, currently, where you're at, like, where are you looking for new music? What are you into right now, even if it's a particular song or something like that?
Oh, gosh. I'm always terrible at answering that question off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But Jacob Banks is an artist that I have been listening to a lot lately.
Okay.
Highly recommend.
And what kind of music is that?
It's like indie, soul, little R&B. It's like a mix of indie, like, I honestly don't know how to explain it. Really good though.
2026 genre blending type stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. But it's good, and his music has a lot of deep meaning to it. So I really like that as well, or the lyrics especially.
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate being able to sit down and, you know, in addition to the craziness that your first week has been, but be able to get a podcast done as well. For everybody that's watching, come on down to the events that we're doing. We should have some stuff that we're doing out in the community in June. We should be out at City Dance. We should be doing some other cool stuff. So come on over to Content. We'll be at Sub-Zero as well. So come on down to the Content table and introduce yourself to Jasmine. I know she'll be super excited to meet you as well. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Content Magazine podcast. Follow us on social media at Content Mag. Become a member and help us to continue to tell the stories of the South Bay creatives. This episode's music is 408 by Jack Pavlina. Follow him on Spotify and also on his Instagram at Jack Pavlina Music.